Hey everyone, welcome to the Uncanny J-Men. Today we are going to be talking about Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, which just came out. If you have not seen it, a warning, there will be spoilers because we're talking about the whole movie.
Yeah.
So if that bothers you, make sure you see the movie before you watch on. You have been warned. Shall we jump right in?
Definitely, yes.
All right. First point I have, I'll go ahead and kick off the first point here, talking a little about Wanda. So I watched it twice already. I've seen it twice, and the first time it bothered me a little bit that that jumped right into her being evil, like she was just completely evil. And I was like, okay, we saw it in WandaVision. She made the right choice at the end, and she was sad, but she made the sacrifice, and she was in a good spot. And then all of a sudden, this one, she's evil from before we even see her. But I think a big part of that is that she has spent all of that time since then with the Darkhold, and that she is not evil. It is the Darkhold. And the reason I noticed that the second time around was just every time that she was with her kids, she completely switched. So there was a line in there where she's talking to her kids and they say, please don't hurt us. And she says, I would never hurt you. I'm not a monster. I would not hurt anyone. And it's like, as soon as she said it, she realized, wait a minute, I have hurt people. And every time that she hears her kid's voice, it's like she gets distracted from her course of action, just snaps out of it for a moment. So I am okay with the way they ended up handling that. I think she did a phenomenal job being a villain.
She did.
She was terrifying. But yeah, I do think it was the Darkhold taking hold of her.
I mean, that was a focus throughout the entire movie, was just how the Darkhold corrupts. Because even like the Doctor Stranges that they talked about, the Darkhold corrupting.
Yeah.
It was a very common thread throughout the entire thing, with the Darkhold being a source of true evil for any kind of spellcaster, sorcerer, witch, whatever person wields it gets corrupted.
Yeah. So we'll have to see the impact it has on our Doctor Strange. He's got the third eye now.
Yeah, and there's a lot that happened. I mean, this is a shorter movie for Marvel,
which is surprising. Didn't feel it.
Jam-packed, nonstop from the start. They did not pull punches or start slow. I mean, granted, they didn't have to like do origin stories for most people, and the only person that they did, America Chavez, was a really quick just memory booth scene, and that was like, here's your origin, memory booth. And then they moved on. I mean, I'll say America Chavez, new character. I mean, you could argue that Defender Strange and Sinister Strange, like these are all new characters, but they're the same actor, same kind of character. There were some other new characters that we'll get into that have very shorter periods of time on screen, but that is a big fan thing I want to talk about. But
America Chavez, lots to say.
How do you feel about America Chavez as a whole?
I liked it. I liked the character. I thought she was fun. I think she did a great job being someone with this very unique power that happens to be very coveted by a very powerful being, caught up in the middle of this, isn't really sure what to do, where to turn, or how to handle it. I liked the character. I think she did a really good job. And I liked at the end that like she even seemed to be attached to Doctor Strange, but like she's an awkward child and not sure how to like show it.
Yeah.
And he's an awkward adult, not knowing how to be a fatherly figure. He's like, sup? Let's see, responding back. But yeah, I like the character.
So I'll say one thing about America Chavez that I liked was that we're seeing this trend with Marvel properties right now of like the new generation coming in, the younger, kind of replacing the older. I don't think America is replacing Doctor Strange, not at all.
Right.
But she does still has that like trying to get into her own, trying to learn her powers thing that we see a lot of the other heroes coming out of the newer ones, the new Hawkeye. We're going to be seeing Miss Marvel before too long. And so I think she will fit really well in with that newer Avengers, kind of younger Avengers. or Young Avengers, New Avengers, whatever they end up calling them.
Right.
But the other thing, which only is towards the end when we see her at Camartage learning magic, that kind of like reminded me of something from a comics, is there's this character from the comics that becomes almost like a caretaker of the Sanctum Sanctorum in New York, like librarian, caretaker, girl. It's not America Chavez in the comics. There's a different character, different name, but I could totally see America Chavez almost being like an apprentice to Doctor Strange, learning magic but never really being like a sorcerer, always having just kind of like a working knowledge and helping out with magic.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see what's in her future.
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
And I loved the way her abilities showed, because in the comics it was always the star portals, and I loved the jaggedness when she couldn't really control it, and how it like layered to show how many multiverse layers they're going to be going through.
Yeah.
I thought that was a really well done effect, and it didn't seem weird. It seemed, this seems like it should be what's happening in a movie like this. So
yeah, she didn't know how to control it, so she just punctured a hole through a couple of multiverses. And then when Wanda controlled her to control where it went, you could see exactly where it went. And at the end, when she figured it out how to control it, it went exactly where it needed to go. I agree. That was well done. Yeah, very cool character. I feel like seamlessly added in, even though it was like right from the start you get introduced, and you also get a Doctor Strange, Defender Strange, to trying to help her out, but then also deciding to try to kill her. And then as we learn throughout the whole rest of the movie, that almost every Doctor Strange is basically a bad guy. Every single one that they know of. Yeah. So interestingly, I don't know that they're necessarily all bad guys, but that they all justify making the tough choice for the greater good. They all calculate it. And so there's a line, and I don't remember the exact words, but it was something about something along the lines of, in the grand calculus of the universe,
right,
the lives of one or a few are worthy sacrifices, something along those lines. The thing is, our Strange says that line in a prior movie. I'm not exactly sure, but I think it might have been Spider-Man No Way Home, where he was when he was talking about the Spider-Man villains.
Right.
That in the grand calculus, their deaths are insignificant or something like that. It made me wonder if the reason that our Strange, the Earth 616 Strange, apparently, which comments on that in a minute, but I'm wondering if the reason he is different is because of his interactions with Spider-Man. Because in the Avengers Infinity War, when he's on the rocket ship heading up with Spider-Man, with Iron Man, they're on their way. He says, if it comes down to saving your life or the kids being Spider-Man, or saving the time stone, I will not hesitate to let both of you die. I mean, that's the bad that we're seeing in these other Doctor Stranges, is the willingness to let others die for this greater good. He's treating everything mathematically. But in Spider-Man No Way Home, he makes a connection with Spider-Man. And although he doesn't remember Peter Parker, he still remembers Spider-Man. He still remembers that. And it's inside of him somewhere. So I think just having to play that fatherly role and understanding relationships in a new way has had an impact on him.
Mm-hmm.
So
I like that.
But the Strange that we have was the same way as those other Stranges in the not too distant past.
And he just learned a little bit more empathy and how that can be an effective tool as well.
Exactly.
Good life lesson for all of us.
Yeah. And while we're talking about the multiple Stranges, I did find it very fascinating that the darkest Strange, I don't know what we want to label these guys, the one that admitted to killing off a whole bunch of other Stranges.
The other Strange.
Yes, exactly. The one with the three eyes that he meets in the flooded Sanctum Sanctorum. He says that he traveled the multiverse looking for Doctor Stranges who essentially didn't blow with Christine. And he couldn't find any. Of course he couldn't find any. Because in What If, we saw that in order for Doctor Strange to become Sorcerer Supreme or Master of the Mystic Arts, or however you want to label him at any given time, but in order for him to discover that ability, he had to lose what was most important to him. In all the universes, if he succeeds with Christine, Christine's the thing most important to him, he's going to lose Christine. He has to lose Christine to become the superhero Doctor Strange. It's only in the ones where he fails with Christine that he loses his hands instead. So, like, at least that's the way I'm interpreting it. Yeah. So it's not that this Doctor Strange discovered that all Doctor Stranges fail with Christine. It's just that the only Doctor Stranges and Christines who are left are ones where they failed as a couple.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Very interesting. The Dark Strange, I guess I'll call him.
Yeah.
How he even talks about like killing other Stranges, and that those are the dreams where you fall. And it's like, oh, it's probably like I did it, but then he falls to his death. I like that too. There's a lot of like allusions throughout the movie of like what's coming next and everything. I liked Christine being in the movie a lot more, having more parts in it as well, with showing her moving on and getting a guy who is obsessed with Doctor Strange as well. Like, of course, that's just gonna be funny. But
that was a cute addition.
Yeah, and then having the I forget which number they gave for the Illuminati universe.
843 or something like that.
So yeah, I'm gonna just call it the Illuminati universe.
Sounds good. And I know it was in the 800s, but yeah.
So in the Illuminati universe, with her working for she's a senior fellow of the Baxter University, and as soon as I heard that, I was like, Fantastic Four.
Yes, exactly. They're here.
I'm like, they're at least alluding to the Fantastic Four, not just kind of like, I mean, we know it's coming eventually. They already announced they were going to be working on Fantastic Four. When she said that, I was like, perfect, Fantastic Four. And then we got the Illuminati, and we see what was a fan favorite casting. A lot of people were calling for. I know some people disagree, but we saw John Krasinski pop in as Mr. Fantastic, Reed Richards. And while he didn't have a lot in the movie, as expected, it's not his movie, but it was really cool to see him in that role.
It was. I love just listening to Dad Fantastic, just like trying to talk to Doctor Strange and connect with him. And then Wanda shows up and he tries to connect with her. Yeah, I'm a father too. I also have children. I understand what you're going through. It's like, oh my goodness. He wasn't Mr. Fantastic. He was Dad. He was just playing a dad.
And that shows, though, that, I mean, this is for like comic fans out there, but that Franklin Richards exists in the Illuminati universe, probably one of the most powerful human beings ever in comics.
Yeah.
Exists in that universe. So I mean, it could be one of the other children too, or like multiple, like most likely it's Franklin and his sister, but Franklin is just so powerful. But very cool to see him, even though he does die pretty shortly thereafter. But it does set up John Krasinski as an actor for Mr. Fantastic, the Fantastic Four. Doesn't necessarily mean that he will be the Mr. Fantastic in the upcoming movie, although I feel like there may be some riots if it's not the case. Now that we got him in that role in this, it seems like it should be alluding to him being that character in the future movie, because I mean, a lot of the variants, I'm going to call them, the different multiverse characters, a lot of them are the same actor plays that character. I mean, we see Benedict Cumberbatch playing Doctor Strange in every universe we've seen a Doctor Strange in. It doesn't mean that every universe there is a Doctor Strange that is Stephen Strange, Benedict Cumberbatch, but it does set up as a possibility that we will see John Krasinski in the future Fantastic Four movie.
Yeah, this is a great trial run. And you're right, fans have been calling for this for years now, I think. So it was a great way to see, okay, let's put him in this and see how it goes. See if this is a success or a failure. And they're not locked in either way, because I mean, the Spider-Man, we saw that he can look different across different universes. But like you said, then there's also Doctor Strange. Benedict Cumberbatch is in it. It seems to be Doctor Strange in all of them. They have the flexibility here to either say, oh, okay, this was just a fan service item. We gave this to the fans, and now we're moving on to the real guy. Or they can say, yes, here he is, and he'll be back in the Fantastic Four movie. I hope he'll be back. I think he did a good job. I like him in the role.
I do too.
It was a little bit. It was just a little bit, but I liked it. I like the animation of it. The way he was just popping down, stretching.
Yeah, it was subtle, and I think that was good. Whereas like definitely looked off. It, like he was stretching and stuff. I mean, he didn't obviously use his powers that much to fight, so couldn't really see a whole lot of it. It might be a little hokey, like we've seen in the past for some Mr. Fantastics and other movies, but I liked it.
Yeah.
Now, as far as the rest of the Illuminati, we had Captain Marvel, played by the Maria Rambeau, so Monica Rambeau's mother, the one who was in the military with Carol Danvers.
Yeah.
We had Professor X in his floating yellow chair from like the 90s cartoon.
Yes.
Awesome. We had Black Bolt.
Yeah.
Which was still Anson Mount, the guy who played Black Bolt in the TV show that a lot of people like to forget about. But did a fantastic job with the changes on that character there too.
And now Marvel can say, look, that was a separate universe. Yeah.
Good. I thought they did a good job with his abilities and stuff there too. It really was him just saying a normal word and huge blast, killing that Doctor Strange in that universe after beating Thanos. Mm-hmm. We also had, let's see, so we had Mr. Fantastic. Oh, we had Captain Carter. That's right. Yes. Live action Captain Carter.
I loved it.
It was good to see.
It was.
Yeah. And then who else? Was that it? Or do we had, there was, oh, I guess Mordo.
Mordo.
Being the Sorcerer Supreme of that area now. In the place of what a Doctor Strange should have been there. Yeah, it was good. Yeah.
It was a great lineup. That was my favorite part, was with the Illuminati. I mean, it was some people complain about things like that because they're like, oh, it's just fan service. I'm like, well, you know, I'm a fan. I love being served. So I have no problem with those things. I'm happy to geek out over those
and
things.
Wanda just wiped the floor with them.
Yes.
Just ripped them apart real fast. Like the way she did to Black Bolt, it was just like, what mouth? And then he like tries to speak, it makes sound and just blows his own head up. And brutal. Each
one was so gruesome.
I mean, it was like a Thanos with the stones level, like reality stone manipulation with like turning Mr. Fantastic into noodles, and then his head pops.
Oh yeah.
Like, and then we see Captain Carter get cut in half, which is a callback in a way to Marvel Zombies What If, where Captain America and there's a zombie gets cut in half with the shield as well.
Right.
And then Captain Marvel just gets crushed by a giant statue after having fought a lot and being basically beaten and just crushed after that. And then the jump scare that was the snapping of the neck of Professor X within the mindscape. Which I will say that this movie had a lot of horror elements. I never thought it was like scary, but it had horror elements throughout it. Jump scares and creepy bits, but I wouldn't say it was a scary movie.
It's like they wanted to make it a horror movie at PG-13 level. So like they pushed the horror as far as they could while keeping it reasonable for most audiences.
Yeah. Now Mordo was the only one of the Illuminati to still be alive at the end.
He was.
So he could technically continue the Illuminati with new people. I doubt we're ever going to see that universe again, really.
Yeah, I don't think so. Except in our theory videos, because I've got some of those coming on that universe already. I've got like lots of notes. One thing I do want to say about the universe. So we see it. We see flowers everywhere. The place is gorgeous. They've got this great technology. It's all very clean and orderly. But if you pay attention to the people in the background, it's too orderly. Everyone is dressed head to toe in gray. Everyone's wearing a gray hat. No one's talking. They're all walking the same way. There's roads. Everyone's walking the same way down a road, just in lines, just going down this road in the same way. Nobody's flinching. Nobody's redirecting. It's like all randomness has been removed, and it's just perfect order. So at first it looked like a paradise, but it seemed like it was a little more of a false paradise.
I mean, it's like a little dystopian where it's like, it looks from the outside, but it really is not a great place to be. And I guess that would be because of Mr. Fantastic and the Illuminati. I mean, I imagine Mr. Fantastic has a lot to do with that because he is the tech smartest person ever kind of thing. Yeah. Maybe a little bit of Doctor Strange before he left, since he was the one who founded the Illuminati to do the right thing. But yeah, it was interesting that it would have the Illuminati and it almost like trying to advance and be the best, but really hindering in some ways.
Yeah, so the Illuminati were formed, like they say about why the Illuminati were formed, and it wasn't to do the right thing, it was to make the tough choices. So it was what we see where we see all these Doctor Stranges stumble is they're trying to make the tough choice and they end up making the wrong choice. Well, he forms the Illuminati to make the tough choices. So I wonder how much of this is along the lines of what we were seeing in some of the villains in these other shows. We had Hydra in Captain America and the Winter Soldier, where they're like, oh, let's just take out all the threats before they happen. We had Moon Knight recently. I'm going to try not to spoil too much, but Ahmet's entire goal was to judge people before they can commit crimes. We're seeing a lot of villains trying to neutralize threats before they happen. Like, that's their whole thing. And part of me wonders, did the Illuminati go that route in this civilization where they were doing something to try and neutralize threats and it ended up taking away free will?
Man, the Illuminati were actually the bad guys.
Could be. Could be.
They did kill Doctor Strange. I mean, no, I mean, if he was dreamwalking and succumbing to the Darkhold, that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
It was interesting that they defeated Thanos on Titan.
They did. So yeah, that trip that in our universe, we had Iron Man and Spider-Man and Doctor Strange and the Guardians of the Galaxy fighting Thanos. Mm-hmm. Well, it looks like in this universe, it was what became the Illuminati. The Illuminati were up there.
Which I think everyone who's going to say Peter Quill was the reason why we didn't beat Thanos is going to be like, exactly, he wasn't there this time.
Exactly. So maybe we could have had an Illuminati if it wasn't for Peter Quill.
Yeah. Now, well, we're talking a little bit about the villains and everything with Scarlet Witch being the villain the whole way through. I didn't expect that. I thought there was going to be a different big bad, and that Scarlet Witch was going to be doing some bad stuff to get her kids from another universe, but ultimately be a good guy against the big bad. But she was the big bad, true. The whole, I mean, whether it was the Darkhold that corrupted her or not, she was the bad guy the whole way through. Yeah. I mean, I agree. And kind of where she was trying to like rectify the situation, but yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I wasn't expecting that either. I thought when he went to recruit her, I thought it was going to be she was going to fight alongside them for a while, and then maybe halfway through they defeat this demon, and she realizes, I want this, that this could get me my kids back, or the demon appeals to her or something. And she realizes, wait a minute, I can get something out of this. But nope, she was controlling them from the start, and yeah, that was not what I was expecting either.
Yeah. It was good. I loved zombie Doctor Strange at the end with the coat of soul demons, and I mean, this was dark and it was good. I loved it. Like, Powerful.
Yeah, it was a very interesting movie. A lot to unpack. Glad I got to see it twice because honestly, the first time I was just awestruck at the end of it and was like, I'm not even sure what to think at this point. Yeah. Now, Wanda, you said about Wanda at the end trying to rectify it. Do you think that's the end of Wanda?
I'm gonna say yes and no.
Okay.
I'm gonna say most likely no, but they allowed it to be a yes if needed. So I feel like Wanda is one of my more favorite characters in the MCU right now, or has been for a little while, but it's a character that was underutilized at first and didn't really have direction. Then they gave direction, especially through WandaVision, which is maybe one of my favorite shows. But like, then they kind of like hung her up on that, like, have to be the mother. The mother is the only thing that matters. Got to be a mother. It didn't develop the character much further than that in there. So I think they could always bring her back to do more there.
Yeah.
But also, we see the tower collapsing, and then we see a big flash of chaos energy. If that big flash is her dying, could be. It also could be a big flash of her using her powers to get rid of the dark hold in every multiverse, as we saw. Maybe. Could also be her using her abilities to get out of there. She successfully destroyed everything because there's no reason to have to be inside of a building that you're destroying for it to be destroyed. So she could have just, as soon as she's like, yep, everything's ripped down, the dark holds are gone, I'm out of here. I feel like if it's going to sell, it's going to sell. I know there's always been some rumors of a solo movie for her also. Maybe. I think they set it up so they can do whatever they want. No body, no real death. And in Marvel, real death, still no real death. So
yeah. Right. No, real death, there's 6 more in other universes you can just pull from. Yeah. Yeah, I think I agree that I expect that she's not done. And not even that they're going to pull her from a different universe. I think we see the pillars smashing down and it looks like one giant boulder lands on her. It looks like it. But then the whole tower is collapsing. And as it collapses down, then we see the red burst down below. So yeah, I'm thinking that was her escaping. And it wasn't until after that Doctor Strange and everyone was out and they see the dark hold start to dissolve. So it could even be that she got out and then destroyed the dark holds in every other universe. So I think she's still around. I think but I agree that they were leaving it ambiguous.
So. Now, another question: those 4 creatures were those man things or swamp thing? Like it was man thing. Swamp thing is DC.
Yeah.
Is that what they were? It looked like they kind of could be.
They definitely looked like it. I'm guessing they were just trying to make it be like defenders of the throne or something, trying to leave it ambiguous. Just like that creature was gargantuous or something like that instead of Shumagorath. They just changed the name so that they could make it whatever they want. They can have more freedom.
Yeah.
Yeah. It seemed like it was just kind of defenders of the throne is the way they were leaving it. But it did look that way. I agree.
Yeah, very interesting. I love all the things that they throw in that like hint towards other things. I mean, Marvel's been amazing at that. Wong, as Sorcerer Supreme, I'd be remiss to not mention Wong, another great performance. Yes. I was a little nervous, I'll admit, going into this movie, because I was like, the only way for Doctor Strange to become Sorcerer is for Wong to no longer be Sorcerer, which probably means death. So I was a little nervous that they were going to kill off Wong, but I'm glad they haven't yet.
I was certain they were killing him off when, so he said early on, it's customary to bow to the Sorcerer Supreme. And Strange says, oh yeah, I know, I've read the customs or whatever. And then later on, a bunch of people bow and Wong turns and says, see, it's customary. I'm like, oh, they mentioned it twice. This is going to end with Wong being mortally wounded or something and bowing to Stephen Strange. That's how Wong is done and he's going to bow to Stephen. Well, no, it didn't happen. It ended up with Stephen bowing to Wong at the end and acknowledging that he doesn't have to do everything himself, which was great. That's kind of the point of this movie in my mind, was for Stephen to realize he doesn't have to do everything himself. You can
And
trust other people.
I love the call out where Wong is like or Doctor Strange is like, what do you think about your other existences? And he's like, well, it doesn't really matter. We don't see Wong's with Doctor Strange's in any other multiverse.
Yeah.
Having that rock, like that person be there and be the Sorcerer Supreme for you, maybe that's a big difference too. I mean, everything is pointing to this being a unique Doctor.
Yeah. That's a very good point. I didn't think of that, but yeah, all the other Doctor Stranges were the Doctor or were the Sorcerer Supreme as far as we know. So yeah.
Very interesting.
Wong is in so many of these things now. Yeah. And he's amazing in all of them.
So let's talk about not just the movie. We finished. We talked about a lot of stuff from the movie. Of course, there's more to talk about. But let's talk about what happens after the movie. So we get true Marvel fashion, a mid and after credits. I'm going to talk about the after. Well, I guess we get a mid, an after, and an after. Or was it three? Because now I'm remembering three different things, but I'm not sure which ones are part of the movie or not. So
no, we got a mid and an after credit. I think the third kind of, there's a short scene just at the very end of the movie.
Yeah, that's the one I'm thinking is like I'm considering that part of, we talked about it a little bit with coming out of the Sanctum Sanctorum walking down the street, Doctor Strange collapsing in a crosswalk and the third eye showing up. We see
that's
the third
pre-credit scene,
but it felt like it should be a mid-credit scene.
Yeah.
But we see that I have to assume that is the result of using the Darkhold, because we see the Dark Strange, the other Strange, have the third eye, and he's definitely sinister evil. That's the only other person we've seen use it, and Doctor Strange hasn't had any reaction to using the Darkhold, and they even called it out like very shortly before that. What I was expecting though, as soon as that third eye showed up, I was like, oh, we're gonna get that classic comic book thing where he then like looks up and the entire world around him in New York is filled with spirit creatures, and he can now see everything, like all the mystic stuff all at the same time, like nonstop, like his third eye is finally opened to all the things that are showing around the world. I thought that was what we're gonna get, and it wasn't. Still time for it. But I don't know if you had any additional thoughts on the third eye opening before the credits.
Yeah, so that would have been really cool if it allowed him to see the spirit creatures. No, for me, my assumption there was just that this was essentially the power of Chthon, the one who wrote the Darkhold, or wrote the spells that populated the Darkhold. It was him kind of gaining traction in Doctor Strange. So the reason I don't consider this to just be Strange now has another power, because when we saw Evil Strange get shot out the window, impaled, and dies, he dies. After he dies, that eye opens and starts looking around. So it is clearly something separate. It is a power outside of his own being. And so I feel like that is showing that his use of the Darkhold allowed this power to gain at least a little bit of a foothold in him, to live on in him.
Here's another thought. It mostly reminded me because of the spirits on Doctor Strange, like zombie Doctor Strange being inhabited, but also with a third eye and kind of the toll. A lot of times we talk about like magic has a toll and everything like that. In the comics, we have this really cool arc where it's kind of about Doctor Strange's cost, and he keeps on taking the cost and shoving it in this one room of the basement of this, like basically just getting rid of it, just pulling it out of himself and locking it away and not having to deal with it. And eventually becomes a villain. I believe, I hope I'm not messing up the name. I think it was like Agony is the name of the villain, where it's basically just like all of Doctor Strange's worst, like all the cost. It'd be great to kind of see that in like the next movie or whatever it may be, where it's like the cost, he keeps on shoving it away, and he's got that third eye, and that's kind of the cost, and that helps him shoving that away, could be Chthon, let's say, and like shoving it away gives life to all of that push that he pushed away. All that things that he pushed away now has life in them because he pushes that away too. I think that'd be really cool, but I think it's going to be like 4 or 5 years before we see another Doctor Strange movie if it's going to keep going the current rate. Get him. So
Yeah.
let's skip real fast to the after credits scene because we have a lot less to say about that, I feel.
Sure.
After credits, we see the hot dog vendor of the alternate universe who Doctor Strange cursed to slap himself around for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Finally, it's stopped being slapped around by his own hand.
So I did hear that was an allusion to that actor was in another movie where his hand got possessed and he had to fight against his own hand.
Another Sam Raimi.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was another Sam Raimi movie.
So Sam Raimi, the director of this, that same guy has been in a lot of Sam Raimi movies, and yeah, it's an allusion right back to a Sam Raimi movie. Yeah, I heard the same thing.
So it was just a fun way to end it. I did like that we were back to
over.
Yeah. I did like that we're back to the scenes, like end credit scenes, rather than a trailer that they did previously. The trailer was nice, but we see trailers online all the time. I really enjoy just having those scenes to grasp onto. Even if it's just a joke where it's a no-name character off to the side who's finally stopped punching himself.
Well, now let's talk about the real meat, the mid-credits scene.
Yes.
So in that, we still have Doctor Strange walking down the street, got that scarf, cape, cloak. Sorry, it's not a cape, it's a cloak. They made sure to correct everyone out there during this movie. It's not a cape, it's a cloak. Got that cloak, and then this random lady, Charlize Theron, shows up. It's not a random lady. We know the Clea from the comics, but shows up and talks about the incursion. And you caused an incursion, got to fix it, and then just teleports them out of there through her little blade slice through the reality.
Yeah.
What incursion do you think they're talking about?
That's a great question. I don't know, because he didn't go through the dark dimension during this movie that I'm aware of, unless it was one of the like 20 dimensions that they zapped through, like one after the other earlier in the movie, which there were some very interesting dimensions that they warped through. I didn't see the dark dimension. And Clea is the niece of Dormammu and is from the dark dimension. And when she's cut open that hole for them to go through, you could see on the other side, that's where they were going. They were going to the dark dimension. So I don't know what type of incursion could have been caused in the dark dimension by things that he had done, at least not recently.
I don't think that it's caused by a dark dimension. I think they're having to go to the dark dimension to help solve it. So because I talked previously about the incursions throughout the movie, and that like one of the Doctor Stranges, the evil one, the one with the third eye, that's what happened to that world. We see it all melting away. It's because he caused an incursion, and it's two universes colliding into the same space. We see the same thing happen in comic books, where multiple worlds. So we see like Battle World, where it's a bunch of them come together, slam together, and then it's a big battle royale of all the people from all the different universes, multiple versions of Hulks, multiple versions of all of that. I'm thinking that with Doctor Strange jumping between so many multiverses and the entire Illuminati being destroyed by Wanda from a different multiverse, that the incursion is 616 and the Illuminati one, 843, whatever it is. Those two are going to end up, they're starting to incursion against each other because one has so heavily affected the other one irreparably, where it shouldn't have actually happened.
Yeah.
So those are the two, and Clea's going to have to help. That could be another way to, maybe it's a Fantastic Four thing where he's not actually dead, Mr. Fantastic, they bring him back, who knows? But it could be interesting to that's how they bring mutants in, is the incursion of the two planets, where they actually figure out some way that the planets don't destroy, they actually become one, and that brings all the mutants over, and it allows for Fantastic Four to now be there, and whatever else it may be. I think that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, it would make sense. The footprint on 843, we're calling it 843 now. That's now our designation for it. I think we've decided. Whatever it is in the movie, that's what it was. We are renaming it 843.
Until it's on Disney Plus, we can check it by watching it multiple times.
There we go. But yeah, the footprint on 843 by the group in this movie was enormous. And honestly, the footprint on 616 was also enormous because they kept jumping back and forth into that one as well. So, yeah.
It's also possible that the destruction of the Darkhold affecting all the multiverse will make an incursion of all universes. That would be extremely huge plot point for a new movie, as an incursion level event for the entire multiverse of it all collapsing in on itself. And with phase 4 being all about the multiverse, what better way to kind of end out a phase than to have the multiverse collapsing in on itself after having boomed out again. So
yeah, and it does make sense that the Darkhold being destroyed, maybe the answers are in the dark dimension.
Yeah,
they are considered to be similar styles of magic in the Darkhold and in the dark dimension. So I could see the link there that they need to go there to investigate.
I'd love to see a Dormammu come back.
Oh yeah,
because it was like Dormammu wasn't really in the first movie much, but the part that they did have is like still such a favorite scene of mine. Like, I've come to bargain, I've come to bargain, I've come to bargain. And I'm like, how many times did he come to bargain and die brutally over and over again until he finally got free? I don't even know. Like, I mean, it's probably a dozen times on screen, but how many times outside of that, who knows? But I'm very excited to see, and it doesn't seem like they're going to stop Doctor Strange anytime soon.
Right.
So, I mean, most heroes get 3 movies, it seems. This is only movie number 2. We'll see what number 3 has and if he wants to keep going after that.
Yeah, I would love to see a Doctor Strange Dormammu reunion. Where he walks into the dark dimension and Dormammu sees him and is like, oh no, not this guy again. Please, no more bargaining.
That'd be awesome. I'm wondering what other sorcerer, witch, like magic people they can bring into it, because there is a lot of really good. I mean, there's one of my favorite places that Doctor Strange goes to in one of the series is this like bar for magic people where they all just kind of hang out, and like Brother Voodoo is there, and like it's just there's so many cool characters that I would love to see get added to the magic side of things.
Yeah.
All right, well, to wrap this up, let's get final impressions on how do you like this movie? How do you think it fits with all the other MCU movies?
So I really enjoyed it. I think they did a great job with the movie, and dark movies aren't usually my thing. I am much more of the light, the happy type of movies. So for me, Captain America: Winter Soldier is my favorite. It's very much do the right thing, find your way to overcome the odds. And I kind of like the whole thing of Captain America needing Black Widow's expertise to kind of infiltrate. So there's a lot of like about that style of movie is more my style. This is very much not my style of movie, but I feel like it was so well done, and I loved jumping through. And I mean, as we know doing this channel, one thing I absolutely love about movies is when there are unanswered questions that we get to figure out the answer ourselves. There are so many unanswered questions. Even if you just look at the snippets from the different universes they looked at, so many questions to be answered there. So it had that going for it. I don't know if I want to give it a rating yet, since there's so many more times that I need to see it. I loved it, as I love all Marvel movies. Was it my favorite one? It wasn't my favorite. It doesn't crack the top 5 for me, but I still think it was a really well done movie. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I hope to see it again in theaters, even still, before it's out.
Yeah, I'll agree. I won't give it a rating just yet. I think it's a very fun movie. I mean, while it is dark, it's fun. It's an enjoyable movie. If you like the MCU, you're going to like this one too, I feel. It's not where I was expecting it to go, and maybe at times not where I wanted it to go. But overall, I did really enjoy it. I love the Illuminati stuff. Like that was, I mean, I'm a huge sucker. I mean, a lot of people don't really like Civil War that much. It's just fan service the entire time. I love the movie because it's fan service the entire time. That's the stuff that I really enjoy. So it was nice to see that. It was cool to see Doctor Strange maybe develop a little bit further. I do think this was a very solid movie, but yeah, I agree. I probably wouldn't be putting it in the top 5 for the MCU for me. It might not be that far outside the top 5.
Yeah.
but I
Contender for
definitely
top 10.
Yeah, I need to definitely look over my list. At some point, maybe we'll do a video for our lists of the MCU,
That'd be awesome.
and then we'll see exactly where it places among the 29 movies, TV show, 20, like 30 something, including all TV shows now, MCU properties. I'm excited. And so it's more and more to come. It's great.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you everyone for staying and watching us talk about Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. If you haven't seen it, hopefully this gave you the edge to want to go see it, though you now know a lot of what's going to happen in the movie. But yeah, if you have seen it, let us know in the comments down below what you thought of the movie. Also, if dreams really are a window to our other selves, let us know. What are your superpowers in your other universes? I know I've got flight. Just saying.
I've got the weirdest. No powers, just weird things happening to me all the time.
You're in the paint dimension.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. Leave a like if you like this video. Subscribe if you want to see more. Thanks for watching.